Hi everyone, welcome to Kissflow's demo day. I am your host, Megha, and with us we have our expert and speaker for today, Mr. Peter, who will be walking you all through the process of how you can build a connected production line orchestration layer through powerful automation and exception handling with Kissflow for your organization. So, before we get started with the demo, I would like to set the agenda. We will be starting with a poll question to better understand all of you, know a little bit more about each one of you joining us. And then we will move on to the demo of the platform by Mr. Peter. And finally, we'll have the Q&A. So during the session, during the demo, if you have any questions, any doubts, keep dropping it down in the Q&A box below, and we'll answer it towards the end of the session. And I would also like to tell that we have something special planned for all our attendees joining us live today at the end of the session. We have an exclusive giveaway. So, to know more, just stay till the end of this session. And so, we'll just get started with the poll. The poll question will appear on your screen right about now.
Thanks, Mega. That was awesome. Appreciate everyone joining today. This is going to be a fun session for us. I see the poll numbers have come in, and that's pretty much as to be expected, right? So what I want to first do is welcome everyone to this rendition of our demo days. Thank you all for joining, taking your time out. This is a global event, right? So we're doing these back to back to back. So there will be recordings, multiple recordings, if you want to come back and review anything that you may have missed in the session. But I also want to welcome back those who have been with us in our demo day sessions in the past, and also want to welcome anyone that's new, right? We always see new people coming in, so welcome. For those of you who are new, what is demo days? Right, so demo days is where we get to geek out, right? Take a good use case, take a fine example of where Kissflow as a platform can play. And what we really do is we push it to the limits. And we take complex use cases and we really simplify them into what they should have been in the beginning, but we didn't have this type of technology back then. So sit back and relax. We're going to go through a lot. We're going to go through production planning and production exception messaging, and we're going to tie that in a little bit interestingly around IoT and all the signals that we get on a production line. So it's going to be very interesting to see everyone's viewpoint on this call, how we did, right? And how you can start to apply some of these methodologies and also theories and our platform and our technology, how quickly we build these things out. So it's going to be fun. A couple of housekeeping items. One, I'm going to be switching my neck back and forth. So if it gets distracting, I do apologize. My screen is here, the camera is here. I need a little bit bigger screen because I'm old and I don't have my glasses on today, so I need a little bit bigger screen. The other part of the housekeeping is going to be questions. Put your questions in. We will definitely have time at the end of this to go through them. If we do not, I will definitely get back to each and every single one of you guys in terms of questions with a personalized email, and we can also follow up. If you do want to even deeper dive into what we're going to go through today, contact us. Mega's got all the details. Feel free to reach out to her or to me directly. It's okay. And third and last item is going to be, you're going to see a couple of different things. You're going to see the Kissflow platform, and there's going to be two applications that we're going to be showing. Outside of that, to simulate MRP exception messages coming from an ERP system, we're going to be using Postman, so that won't be a part of Kissflow, that's external. And we're also going to use a data simulator for IoT that I've built outside of the platform, also to simulate data coming in, okay? So if there's no questions or no issues, let's go ahead and jump right in. Hopefully everyone can see my screen, and I'm getting a thumbs up that we can. So let's go ahead. So why am I starting off with IoT here? Right, so what you're looking at is an IoT management application. So it's taking in signals from a Kafka stream. And that Kafka stream is essentially handing over into Kissflow the exceptions, right? So Kafka's got all of its business rules. When it catches an exception, then it's going to send that into the Kissflow platform, specifically to this application. What this application does is it runs copious amounts of business rules. And those business rules will basically say, if my temperature sensor is X value, I need you to fire off this workflow. If it's this value, then just send off a warning. right? So it really is doing the mechanics of understanding what's going on within the production run in terms of the line itself, so the physical line. When that does happen, we understand which service engineer or which maintenance crew needs to be dispatched automatically, and we build out those rules within the platform. And then we start orchestrating different processes. So this application will orchestrate the monitoring and also the repair of any line. It will then communicate to the production application, which will then go through its stages and steps around, do I need to shut down production? If production is shut down, what's going to happen? And how do I manage that? And the production application is also going to manage exceptions, right? And we'll get into a little bit more of that later, but let's jump in and see what happens when we start sending in some of these signals. So I'm going to come back here, and here's our two applications that I spoke about. So our data simulators here and our Postman that's going to simulate MRP messages are here. So I'm going to start with, and I'm going to send in a signal that says Kafka just sent us 328 degrees on a temperature sensor. So if I click on send, there's two things that are going to happen. First, we're going to go into the production planner application. This is a dashboard. We all love dashboards, fully customizable, configured to your organization, what KPIs you're tracking, things like operator availability. So now you can start to see that our use cases are getting a little bit broader. What we can connect to this operator availability is your HR, right? Someone calls in sick. If I have 5 people that call in sick, well, I can't run a line now because I need 15 and I only have 10. There's no way I can do that. So now the production planner understands, today I've got to run. I can't do it with 10. Can I borrow people from somewhere else? Now you start orchestrating even those tentacle operations that sit outside the purview of production planning itself. So if you noticed, we got this little red dot up here, and that's a notification. Now those two applications are speaking with each other. If I open this, it's going to tell me, yep, temperature's at 328 degrees. Perfect. It's within tolerance. So I don't have to worry about it now, but all I'm doing is sending a signal to the production manager to say, hey, this is still in tolerance, but I'm going to keep an eye on it. Very important, right? So right now, nothing to do, no action to take whatsoever. I can go ahead and click mark all as red. Now what happens if I send in a signal that says 450 degrees? We know this is out of tolerance and that line should immediately be shut down. So let's see what happens. Click the send button and we'll swipe on over here. Now, as we look, we come back up here and we can go to our production board. Now, inside of our production board, we're going to see here that production's been shut down. That we can see, right? So we understand that this is now completely shut down. We've got that signal. The system has told us, nope, sorry, it's not going to happen. If we open it up, we can completely see what's coming in from the IoT side of the house all the way into the production boards, right? So here I've got my air type, it's a sensor bus, my temperature, it's a communication failure. So someone's going to need to fix this. What ends up happening here is we're sending also these types of signals because there's a workflow even within the IoT application that goes ahead and schedules when work is going to be done. So if I look here, the ETA of the service crew is at 6:48 p.m. So now me as a production manager, I can go in and I can take a look. All right, my line is shut down. I know that within the next hour and a half that I'm going to get a service crew that's going to come out. That service crew is going to come out. Estimated time is maybe 30, 40 minutes. Again, you can put all that information into here. And I may just send out the crew out for lunch, or they can take an hour and a half break, and then we can resume the line. As opposed to what happens today in most organizations is our line is shut down. We've got nothing to do. You know what? Scrap everything that we've built and start putting things back into the warehouse because the next run is going to happen, right? So now we're actually controlling that chaos through mechanics, right? We understand what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and who the different parties are involved, right? And that's going to be back office people. That's going to be, people on the shop floor. Now we're orchestrating this end to end. And it's really fascinating to be able to have a platform like this that is so flexible to where you can actually build these types of, very complex orchestration models, but with a sense of simplicity within it. And we'll get a little bit more into that as we progress. But just keep this in your head. The demo that I'm showing today, only there's 90% of it is no code. There's just a small piece of code somewhere. And if you guys can figure it out, let me know, right? So all of this was built on what I love to call the Kissflow, Lego blocks. We're just taking blocks and we're positioning blocks. And then the way that we run all of that is we put our business rules on there. And as our business rules fire, they know exactly where they need to go within the workflow. Do I need to kick off? Do I need to go take data from an external source? All of these things start to happen in motion. So how do we get here, right? So if you notice, all of these are in production staging. And since they're all in production staging, there is certain activities that need to happen. So if I open this up, and let's take this guy, for example. And let's try this guy. There we go. So we open this up. So production staging is our first stage in actually producing something. Within here, we have a production material pick list, right? So this is more for your warehouse people. Your warehouse guys are going to go out and they're going to search for these material numbers, which we'll see a little later of how this gets populated. Here's the quantity that they need to pick. And as they go through their jobs, now this can be ported over to a mobile or a tablet, so we can scan, make sure that we have controls around what's coming in and what's going out. And once everything is picked, just click on yes with all of these guys. Then I can go into the next stage, right? So I can do this automatically by giving it simple rules. But for now, we're just going to click through things, because if we automate everything, then I'm done in 5 minutes and I don't need a job, and it's kind of boring for you guys. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper, less automation, more clicking, just to show you guys how these things work. So the next stage, once all these are clicked, is our tooling confirmation. We go into our tooling confirmation, and this is very important for any of you guys that are like in wire and cable, right? So you need a tool to put wires together, and that tool is also going to have a certificate, and we need to know which tool was used during which production run, right? So when we look at these things, we understand that, I can open this guy up. Again, think mobile here. If I open it up, it's going to open up the camera. That's me. I can wave, hello, right? But what it's doing is it wants to scan a code. Once that scanning is completed and I confirm that my tooling is good, well, the next stage in that is production run, which means now my production is running, right? And if I've seen no issues, and I can unclick this guy, if I do see an issue, I can say which types of issue it is. Based upon which types of issues it is, then I can branch off. I can create another trigger point within our trigger flows that say, if it's a workforce issue, let's say 4 people didn't show up, or, we all had lunch before and stomach poisoning, something happened, right? I've seen it all the time. Now I can actually plan for that. So me as a production manager, I can come in here, click on that, and then let my business rules guide the rest of that journey from end to end. Okay. Let's say we have no issues. Once that's done, we go into production run complete. Now, production shutdown, again, is going to show us all this information. Okay. So we're going to put this guy back to the way it was. Hopefully everyone is following so far. This is good stuff. So the next thing we're going to do is look at a couple of options. And again, fully customizable to what buttons you want to put where. But let's say we want to view capacity details, right? Something that you would expect to have in an ERP system. We can pull that stuff out, right? And again, a lot of what I'm showing you all today is, it doesn't matter if you are a Fortune 50 company or a small enterprise. All of this can be done within your organization, right? So even if you are in an old version of Oracle from 20 years ago, you guys can get to this level, right? If you're on a brand new version of SAP's S4, you guys can also get to this level, right? So there's one thing that these ERPs were never designed to do is things like this, right? They're getting there, but at the heart of it, they're just a regular ERP. You give it rules, it's going to execute by those rules. When those rules have an exception, ERP throws up its hands and says, I don't know what to do. All you did was tell me what rules you want me to follow. The rules are now broken. So, Mr. Terminal user, you go deal with it, right? We take that step after that all your business processes, all your business procedures, all of those things are placed, all those rules are placed within the Kissflow platform. Now you're doing wonderful orchestration. And what I love to tell people is Kissflow sits on top of your ERP. That gives you your orchestration layer. And that does a couple of things. The first thing is it keeps your business processes and procedures standard, right? Everyone knows what happens when there's turnover, right? That could be in production, that can be in procurement. As soon as there's turnover, I'll take 5% of the previous company I worked at, 10% of the company before that, and I kind of inject that into my new role. Well, that doesn't really work because operations start to shut down. So this is the best way that you keep all of your businesses, your business process and procedures inside a platform that runs those rules. And we do that step by step, right? So coming back into here, we talked about exceptions. So if I want to do a new production plan, I'm going to follow the exact same process that I would, let's say, in an ERP. I'm going to select a material and let's do a 24 pack. So this is the finished good, right? This is what the outcome is, what we actually want to produce. We're going to select a producing plant, the plan and the order type, and I want to use a BOM list, right? So as soon as I click on BOM list, we're going to go back to the back end. We're going to search on this material number, which is a finished good. These materials make up that finished good. So this is now, you can see the correlation between the production board and creating a new production plan. I scroll down, I can give it a start date. Let's just do now and now. And work center is going to be LL01. If you remember from the production plan, we had the LL01-004, 005. That's where this comes from. And yep, I want to do backflush. Let the system take care of everything. Now I'm going to scroll. Let's make 500 of them, and let's leave our scrap allowance at 1%. Now, what you'll realize here is, and a lot of questions that people have is, well, aren't you guys just recreating an ERP system? And the answer is no. What we are doing is I'm giving signals. When I say I want a backflush, I'm not building that entire backflush routine within Kissflow. What I'm doing is I'm telling your ERP system that I've set this flag to yes. So it's a communication rather than a rebuilding of an ERP. That's why when you hear me say orchestration layer, it's that communication link between Kissflow and your ERP systems. Okay. So now we can go ahead and submit this. And that's been successfully submitted. If I go back to my production board, now I've got everything here filtered just on my name, and I can automatically assign this to someone. But again, I want to show clicking through because you guys might learn a lot more. So if I see everything that's in these boards and I go into the new one that we just created, I can then take this guy and assign it to myself. I can go back to my advanced filters, select myself, and there's the production run that we just have, right? So we've created these production runs. If we take a look here, is our original shutdown, right? So this production shutdown, our notification came into here. Our current temperature is 450 degrees. Auto tolerance line's going to be shut down, right? So now we're sending notifications also back and forth, and we're notifying the right people at the right time to what's going to happen. And programmatically, we've shut this one down. Okay. Now we go into one of my favorite places, MRP exception handling. In my days as a SAP solutions consultant, I always wondered, we have hundreds of errors a day that MRP says. And those errors are push this order out 2 weeks because there's no demand. Cancel this order because we're not going to build inventory just to build inventory. And again, doesn't matter if you make to order, make to stock, or engineer to order. Doesn't matter. MRP is always going to give you signals and flags. You can't orchestrate that within an ERP, right? You can't do it in N4, you can't do it in SAP, you can't do it in Oracle, none of these guys. So I always ask myself, there has to be a better way, because when you get inundated with alerts, every single MRP run that runs, you're going to get a plethora lists of what needs to happen, but you don't really know, right? Sticky notes all over a monitor. right? So that's not really business savvy, and it's not really smart to do that. But we're inundated that we have to find these ways to try to keep up with what's going on. The way I like to do it is, well, what's your business process? And how do you execute on that business process? And how different is that business process based upon what you want to do, right? So how many times can I branch out? Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to send a exception message signal inside of this application. So I'm going to come back here. All right, we're done with the data simulator. We can put this guy out of the way. Come back to Postman. And what I'm going to do is for this production run, so this product order 009, I'm going to send an exception message of 20, which in SAP speak is cancel the production order. You don't have demand for it. Don't build it because you're just going to tie up cash within inventory. It doesn't make any sense. Cancel it. Get it out of there. So I'm going to go ahead and send that signal. Tells me success. I come back here. And we've got our notification. And our notification says exactly what we wanted to say. Right? So quadruple 09, it's got an MRP exception message of cancel. So go ahead and cancel this. In today's world, you would look at it and you just say, okay, fine, I'm just going to go ahead and cancel it. But in a new way to do it would be, I've got this here now. If I open it up, yep, I can see everything in here. Sure, I've got my production order. I've got where it is currently. So it's production staging. I have an MRP message of 20, and I know that that is to cancel, right? But here's where things get interesting. This exception message 20, basically, here's my planned start, here's my planned end. I can confirm this and call it a day, but I'm not going to do that. Why? Well, maybe I had a conversation with Steve or maybe with Jane, and they said, hey, well, that's a false alarm. Well, how do you know that? Well, because we typically run into these types of issues. So instead of canceling this and taking it off the production board, I can go and say, no, I'm not going to confirm the cancellation. I've had conversations, talked with Bill. All good, right? Obviously, you're going to need a little bit more than that, but just, in the sake of time, let's keep it simple. What I can also do here in my comments area, now we're going to have that conversation internally within this message, right? So I can go in and I can say, oops, I can tag, basically myself or anybody else that's a part of this application. Are we good to cancel? And now I can have a conversation, right? I've just got rid of all the email interactions for your entire organization around exception messages with production planning. That is unreal. It's unheard of. So my next thing is I can keep my current plan. And if you notice, this is the way that we're going through this, it's a model-driven approach. All of this is based upon your business rules, right? So you have two types of business rules. One type of business rule is your orchestration layer, where things go left and right and up and down. The other place where you put these business rules is within the UX UI as that model-driven approach. Every option you can think of what a production manager can do or an MRP controller can do, all of those options come into here. And we hide certain fields based upon the rules that are given, right? So my visibility rule says if this is yes, hide all these. You don't need to see it because right now it's not a valid option. But if I put no, Kissflow is still guiding me in that process. I don't have to overthink things. Remember back when I said your processes and procedures are the way that you run your business? These are your processes and procedures. This is how you programmatically put a UX UI together to lead the person to water, as opposed to, well, where's my sticky note? I can't find it. Well, it was on my desk on Friday, and now it's Monday and it's gone. So I'm just going to ignore it. And within the platform, you can't ignore it, right? Because there's SLAs tied to everything. And here's the great part about Kissflow, and one of my favorite out of the box features, reassign. So let's say I'm looking at this, I have no idea about anything that's going on, and I'm new to the organization. You know what? I don't want to mess anything up. So I know that Anitha is the best, right? She's been here for 20 years. She knows how the operations run. Can you take, oops, not yelling, take a look. As soon as I hit resign, it's going to resign it to her. And that's out of the box functionality. ERPs just can't handle these things, and because they weren't designed that way. I'm going to cancel because I don't want to overload her. And we'll keep going. And we're just going to cancel this completely, right? So if I hit done, now that's off. That work item is now done. It's gone. If I come back to my production board, we see it down here. Double click it open, and it's been canceled. It's going to stay in the board, sure, but now we can overlap things. Now I can take the next one and I can pull these in. Now, what would happen if I decided to put 2 staging production runs on top of each other? Nothing. But I can also programmatically give it rules to say if you're moving left to right, if you're overlapping another run, I can then trigger off another workflow for approval, right? So there's so many different ways to approach production planning just within a low-code space, where all I'm doing is running business rules. I'm not doing any type of coding to make these things happen. And at the end, I get a notification that says, yep, it's been canceled. No other activities planned. Production planner must reactivate the production run. And if we're going to go put rules around this, if I want to take this and I want to go back into production staging, well, I'm going to trigger off another workflow to make sure that that is approved before we go ahead and do that, right? So now we're looking at your tentacle processes, everything that orchestrates a production plan, right? Any production run that happens is going to have at least 100, 150 different tentacles that are coming inside. And those are the things that we really want to start to focus on, right? We have our core, but then every exception, how do we manage those exceptions? Well, I just showed you. So this is all great stuff. And I want to give the opportunity now for us to open up the hood. How did we create this, right? I keep saying that it's low code, but only maybe about 10% of it is some type of a code. Well, I want to prove it to you that is correct. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come back. Let's go home. And I'm going to go back into the IoT application. And I'm going to hit edit. Now, just to keep my eyes and possibly yours, I'm going to go to light. Now, I know it's a little bright, right? But it's easier to follow when I'm opening up the configuration within it. So if I go into integration and I go here is where all of my business rules are going to fire from an IoT perspective, right? So I'm listening to an external data pig, right? That we're connected to our Kafka stream. We're getting information, right? Just the exceptions. We're going to update a data set. That data set essentially says, well, whatever the output I get from here, now let's go ahead and turn this off. Whatever the output is, right? These are the things that I'm looking for, right? Even down to a geolocation. I'm going to pull those in, and these are simple. So I can pull in a temperature here for a data form ID, right? So we're going to delete that guy. So this is the way we do it. And then once I get all the information in one place, I'm going to say, check if this temperature is below 349 degrees. If it is, all I'm going to do is send a warning to the production team. Here's where it gets interesting. If not, I want to start checking again. Here's my business rules now firing inside of the integration flow. My temperature greater than 350, I'm going to send a critical alert to the production team, meaning that first warning that you saw came from here. If I open this up, right, this is where that warning came from. So all I'm doing is I'm sending data from one application to another, again, in the same instance, or it could be 2 separate instances. Same thing here. I'm setting this critical alert, and I'm passing all of these variables. Remember what we saw, the error type, the sensor bus? Yep, that's coming from here. All right, so I'm going to X out of this. Now let's go into the production plan. And let's go ahead and edit this application and go back into integration. Now, I created a copy because I don't want to mess around with things that are already fixed. But here's where that comes in, right? So we're listening for that application. And if you remember, here's everything that's coming in. Here's our sensor bus error, temperature, etc. And now just for giggles, that 10% of code is here. Now I passed a text for a number for my temperature, but I'm just going to, I could have passed a number, but just to show that we can do things like this, all I'm doing here is I am saying, well, I got a text, I got a alphabet letter, sorry, and I want to turn it into a number. And why do I need a number, you may ask? Well, because I'm going to do another check statement, right? So again, I'm branching off when things happen, when things don't happen. So if I look here, if it's less than 350, I need you to send warning message. And there it is. Simple configuration, right? It's so easy. It's like Excel. If I want to concatenate, think about your Excel functions that you have. If I'm going to concatenate, so I want current temperature is, and now I'm pulling in that current temperature that I'm getting from the IoT application that went through my rules and passed it all the way to here. And I can say, this is within tolerance. I'll keep an eye out. Remember that notification that we had. But if not, if it's not less than 350, we know we need to shut down that line. Now I can branch this out even more to check even a smaller resolution, right? I can get more granular into the numbers. So I can keep adding conditions here, and I can match all, or I can match any. So you can get very complex about what rule fires when, and what flow within the integration and also within the triggers flow at what time. So let's get rid of these guys. Boom, perfect. So first we're going to send out that message. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to find a production line that's at fault. And the way that we do that is that we're passing it the date variable. And that date variable is going to say, here's when my production, here's when the Kafka stream sent Kissflow an error. We're capturing that time, that the date timestamp. And we know within this type of a production environment, we've got one production line that's going to produce one finished good. We can't have two finished goods at the same line at the same time. So we're going to search by the date. Whatever production run is running, that's the one that we want to work on, to focus on, to send a cancellation message. So we're going to find it, the one that's at fault. We're going to find which active production run is actually running right now. Again, the same thing. We have all these fields that we can manipulate, but we're not going to do that. And then we're going to shut down the run. And this is where we shut it down, right? So we're taking the error description. We know exactly the signal that came in that a service crew has been dispatched from the IoT app. This is where we're building that, right? We're passing data along all within a flow. And then finally, if you remember that last error that we had, it was concatenate production line XYZ has been shut down while running, order number, yada, yada, yada. Now for more information, click here. Now here's where our integration flow and our trigger flow portion of the platform is hands down probably the best, right? I don't like to toot my own horn a lot, but this is really, really something that is special to the platform. If I wanted to keep going with this and I wanted to keep putting in controls, let's say we come down here, right? So we've gone through both of our branches, we've shut down the line. Now let's go ahead and start to clean things up. So I can put in another control, and let's say within that control, I'm just going to pick something arbitrary. Let's go and select input value as a number equal to, let's call it 625, right? Arbitrary numbers. Click on done. Now I've got an option to branch out. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say, well, if it's equal to that, I'm good to go. You know what? Go ahead and update Salesforce. We're going to go and update a case. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go through the entire configuration, but just to give you guys a sense of how cool you can do all of these integration blocks, and you can stack them on top of each other. You can iterate through data sets. And then what I'm going to do is, well, you guys are a Slack shop. So I'm going to then send a Slack message, and I'm going to send it a channel message. If not, then I'm going to come over here and I can actually kick off another workflow from here. and I can kick off workflow that anything that I'm sharing with. So I have a ton of other workflows that I can kick off. If you notice, these here are from the IoT application. So right now I can kick off this workflow from within the production application. And the same goes vice versa, right? So this is how we're able to pass information natively out of the box functionality here. We're not doing any coding, right? This is what the platform was designed to do. This takes a rules engine and really, supercharges that rules engine. And then I can pass fields to it. Any field that I want, let's just pass this one, right? And then I can say, well, I need to notify Charlie, and Charlie works in the other division, and that division does not use Slack. They use Microsoft Teams. Let's go like that, Teams. And I can either send a channel message or I can send a chat message. If I want to send in a chat message, it's the exact same thing, right? And then if you really want to get cookie crazy, you can put another control that does an iteration. And on that iteration, we're going to go through a data form, and we're going to update data as we're running, right? And then we give it a condition. You can see the power of this. It's something that really blows my mind when I start building proof of concepts and proofs of vision. People always say, how can you do this so quickly? Well, you just saw how. It's all pure configuration, right? So you let your imagination take over within the Kissflow platform. You don't need 3 or 4 LSAs to do an integration flow like this, right? There's almost no code here, right? So, all things being equal, this is the path to the least resistance. And that could be in production planning, it can be in sales and distribution, it can be in finance and controlling. All of your business processes now start to be connected to each other, and they start speaking to each other. AI is great. Love AI, but we're still struggling with the fundamentals within ERPs. Within how do I get, sales and distribution to talk with the warehouse because a client is frustrated because we keep on missing deliveries. Well, those two worlds, they talk, but they don't communicate because there's not really many things that they know in between the both of their worlds, right? This changes that. This allows me to notify, this allows me to kick off different workflows and converge those two teams together. And now IT actually has enough time to understand and learn the business, right? IT's inundated with tasks. There's a stack a mile high of all the types of solutions that the business wants. Well, this is a time saver, right? Time to value and time to market. Not to mention your return on investment. So something like this, you can be up in 30 to 90 days. Right? The smaller of an organization, remember, this isn't just for the Fortune 50 guys. If you're a small business, same rules apply because your production lines are probably just as complex as the big guys, right? It just comes down to sheer volume and people. So hopefully there is a big list of questions. I have not looked, so I'm going to come back. I'm going to get out of here, switch this back to my dim theme. And Mega, if you can see if we have any questions.
Yes, we have no questions for now.
Oh, excellent.
Let's just wait for a few minutes and see if any questions drop in.
Sure. And how are we doing on time?
Pretty good.
Excellent. So while you guys are thinking about your questions, I want you guys to start thinking about how to utilize this within your organization, right? Don't be scared of it. It's not that big of an undertaking if you take it in smaller bite-sized chunks. So typically what I'll recommend for people to do is take a small piece of a workflow and put it into Kissflow and see how you can start growing that maturity, right? It doesn't have to be all encompassing. It doesn't have to be, well, we now have to rip and replace out our 10, 15-year-old Oracle system. No, it really doesn't. You want to orchestrate on top. And that orchestration layer is really where you're going to actually get a higher return on investment in Oracle, in your old Oracle systems, or even your old SAP systems, right? And that's really where you're going to start to consume a lot of these workflows. And then you're going to start seeing your organization working more in Kissflow than in Oracle or in an older version of SAP, or even a modern version of Oracle, a modern version of SAP. Let this drive your business rules and your functionalities. So Mega, if there's no other questions, we'll give people a couple more minutes. I can talk about this stuff until I'm blue in the face. This is my passion, if you haven't noticed in my voice, but it's so much fun to do this, and I can't wait for the next demo day.
We have one question, and it is from Anita, and she's asking us, how does Kissflow support CI or CD?
Can you elaborate a little bit on which areas of CI/CD you're looking for us to support? Because I know a lot of people throw out the word CI/CD and then it's this massive, well, let's, DevOps or something like that. And I have your question open so I can see it. If not, I can definitely reach out to you offline and we can go through that for sure. Any other questions? Or Anita, if you have a follow-up response, feel free to type it in.
Anita, you can talk. I mean, I have given permission.
So DevOps pipeline in Kissflow is very simple. I would love to spend maybe 10, 15 minutes with you walking you through how we would set up that pipeline. And I'll get your details from Mega, and then I will reach out to you directly.
Yeah, Anita, you can email us at mega@kissflow.com, and I will connect you to the right person.
Jude, my pleasure. Hopefully you enjoyed it and you'll be back for another session. If you want to run through any of these things a little bit more in depth, feel free to reach out, let me know. Appreciate the comment though.
Also, for all the others, we will be dropping in the exclusive giveaway in the chat box, and you can go click on it. This is a free trial link for up to 14 days of the Kissflow platform. This is just for all of you to explore the platform. I'm sure after this amazing demo, you guys would want to try it out yourself, doing a bit of exploration and understanding. So go ahead and register for the free trial link in the chat box. And for any other questions that you would want to ask to Peter, you can write to me at put down in the chat box. Make you all get connected to the right person. If it's Peter, we'll get you connected to him as well.
We did such a good job. No one's got any follow-up questions. Excellent. So I think we can wrap this one up, Megan, and I'd invite everyone connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to talk tech. It doesn't have to be about Kissflow in particular. You want to talk about your ERPs and production planning and capacity planning and all those fun things, and also anything supply chain related. Let's have a conversation. We'd love to sync up.
Yes, thank you all. Thank you all for joining. Hope this session was useful.